In the words of the Supreme Court, you don't shed your constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. You can speak out in school as long as you're not disrupting the functioning of the school. They can discipline you for missing school, but they can't discipline you differently if you're missing school because of a political reason or to convey a particular political message. They can't discipline your speech or your clothing that expresses a view or an opinion unless it disrupts the functioning of the school or violates the neutral dress code. Use your voice, use your rights, because that's what makes change.
As future teachers, it is important to understand what we as educators and also what our students' rights are in schools. Public schools receive government funding, and these schools have certain rules pertaining to the rights of both the teachers and the students. Understanding the differences in what rights are kept and what rights are left at the door is very important. This comprehension is important for preventing mistakes that can cause problematic situations for both students and faculty. When students enter schools, restrictions are placed on some of their rights, with most restrictions concerning their First and Fourth Amendments. Students, because many students are unaware of what rights they have in school. In Texas, this is especially important because 1/6 of the people in Texas are immigrants. Children from other countries or children from immigrant families may be confused on what rights they do and do not have. These students may believe that they have different rights that they had in their home country or their own belief system. As teachers, it is our job to ensure that ourselves and all of our students understand how rights are different in schools. The Amendment of the Constitution gives people the freedom of speech. In schools, speech can be taken in the form of clothing or actual words and cannot be disruptive, distracting, or inappropriate for the school environment. This amendment was challenged in the Supreme Court case Tinker v. Des Moines ISD in 1969. In the events that led to this case, students wore black armbands to school to protest the Vietnam War, and this led to the suspension of several students. The case went to the Supreme Court, which ruled that suspending students violated their First Amendment rights. And this case not only helped guarantee the freedom of speech, but allowed for protests. In public schools, students are allowed to practice their religion to a certain extent. Students can pray, read religious texts, and wear religious jewelry as long as it is not disruptive. Students can also form religious clubs, but meetings need to be held before and after school and cannot be assisted by a teacher. These restrictions come from the case Lemon v. Kurtzman in 1971. In this case, Pennsylvania and Rhode Island used funds to help non-public and non-secular schools, which led to protests from citizens and taxpayers who felt this was violated their First Amendment. Supreme Court ruled that funding schools showed the government were promoting religion, which violated the First Amendment. This case reestablished the idea of separation of church and state. In most situations, people cannot be searched without a warrant or probable cause because of the Fourth Amendment. In schools, students have less rights when it comes to search and seizure, and this was established in the case New Jersey v. TLO in 1985. A student was found smoking and was taken to the principal's office. The student denied the accusation and her purse was searched, leading to the discovery of drugs and her confession. TLO said that the search violated her rights because it was done without a warrant or probable cause, which led to the case reaching to the Supreme Court. The court ruled that the search was reasonable because students in school do not have the same rights protecting them from search and seizure. Freedom of press in the First Amendment allows people to express themselves. Many schools have newspapers or other forms of media that students can use to share ideas and experiences, but there are limits to this. Limits established in the case Hazelwood School versus Colmere in 1988. In this case, 2 articles were written by students for the school about issues that the principal felt inappropriate and were not allowed to be published. The case went to the Supreme Court, and it ruled that because the school funded the newspaper and the paper was limited to publish articles that the principal and school had approved. Teachers are required to protect their students' rights and are required to follow the concept of in loco parentis. This concept means that teachers are expected to act like parents while students are at school. Another reason that teachers must protect students' rights is because it is a part of the teacher's code of ethics. According to the National Association of State Directors of Teachers Education and Certification, the professional educator has a primary obligation to treat students with dignity and respect. The educator promotes the health, safety, and well-being of students by establishing and maintaining appropriate verbal, physical, and emotional and social boundaries. They are government employees. Outside of schools, teachers have the same rights as others, but it is important that teachers know that what they do and say outside of school can influence how others treat and respect them. Speech is a right that faces some restrictions in schools. In schools, a teacher's speech is limited like a student's speech. A teacher's speech must be appropriate for the classroom environment and not disrupt the learning process. Teachers can express their opinions, but it must be made clear that their ideas are separate from the school's. Teachers' religious rights are similar to those of students' rights. A teacher can wear religious clothing and jewelry if there are no rules against it, but said clothing cannot promote any religion. Like students, teachers may read and pray, but they cannot be done in front of students because it promotes said religion.